Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. And guys, this is a little different from the stories I normally do. This particular email, this is about a guy. He came across my channel by accident, as a lot of people kind of say. And he started watching it because he was curious. He has a teenage son that's getting to the point he's going to be dating soon. So I think he was kind of curious about how things are nowadays because he's been married for 20 years. And after a while, watching my channel, watching a lot of videos and everything, it got him kind of curious because he'd been married for 20 years, something like that, and it sounds like, to his knowledge, everything was going okay, but then he started connecting the dots about some suspicious behavior that's been going on, in particular with his wife, and how obviously about some things that have happened prior to him watching my channel, and obviously things are going on right now in the present. And long story short, by his awareness, if you will, being raised by the things I talk about in the videos, he discovered some very interesting things going on with his wife behind the scenes. And he's going to talk about, he's got two emails here, and the first one is obviously the original story, what he discovered, all that, and then there's an update where things go. And it's pretty interesting to see here. I've yet to get an email from somebody that started watching me, and lo and behold, because of what they've learned, they then discovered things going on. So, getting right into it, he says, Dear SSM, I have a story about me that involves you. I was listening to your blog in the background a few days ago, as I tend to do while I am working. The story had something to do with a guy who's been married for 20 plus years and just discovered that his wife had been cheating on him for many years. I also been married for 20 plus years, but I didn't think much about it because the only incident that I recall in my marriage was probably more than 10 years ago. My wife's friend was married to a doctor, and whenever he was around, my wife became all flirty and acted completely different from her normal self. Well, that's disrespectful. And if she's acting completely different, that says everything. If she respected you and truly loved you, she wouldn't be acting like that around the dude. Now, everybody can have attraction for other people, don't get me wrong. But there's another thing to actually act on it or act in a way that's being disrespectful to who you're with, okay? Says here, I later called her out on it, and well, let's just say that we didn't meet up with these friends much going forward. Anyway, this particular blog topic got into my head, so when I was downstairs to get some tea, I saw my wife's phone on the charger and I picked it up. Well, Pandora's box is about to be open here. I didn't find anything in the messages or phone calls as expected, but then I remembered the other chat programs available in social media. So I explored her phone a little bit. I used to have more social media accounts, but a few years ago I quit them as a waste of time and a source of anxiety. Yep, so did I, dude. Anyway, I opened up Messenger and found dozens of messages between my wife and, wait for it, Dr. D-Bag, going back for at least 3 months. Now wait a second here. This is the same doctor that she used to flirt with 10 years ago. Right in front of you, might add. That disrespect. And now she's having conversations with him in a private social media app. If she was having medical questions, she'd be calling him on the phone, or at least a text to his office, not a secret messenger chat. The messages I saw were pretty innocuous, but I have to wonder, why is my wife texting with a doctor who is now single and says he divorced her friend last year, with whom she has flirted with in the past, and that caused arguments between us? If it's not, why have I not heard about it before? And if these texts exist, what else is going on that I don't know about? There you go. Interesting. He's now divorced from her friend, and now he's talking to your wife. Not cool. Believe me, if she was in love with you and had respect for you, she wouldn't be doing this. And I don't want to hear that, oh, she's talking about a medical this or medical that. If she was, she could call his office. Or could talk about it in a regular messenger, like texting from the phone, because it's about medical stuff. Not being sneaky behind the scenes in Facebook Messenger or whatever messenger she's using. So, something's up, not cool, disrespectful, the whole 9 yards. Yes, I called her out on it. I was so angry. She claims nothing is going on, But what would a cheating spouse say otherwise? Bro, you know how many times I've heard this in the stories? They get caught. Nothing's going on, I swear. Or they yell at the guy for invading her privacy. Or how could you think of this of me, and blah, blah, blah. And then ultimately the guy follows more breadcrumbs to find out that, yes, she was doing the nasty with somebody else. He says, what can you believe? Maybe it's true, maybe not. But it sows the seeds of mistrust. Every time I see her on her phone, every time that she goes out to meet a friend, what am I supposed to think? Right. You got to have trust to have a relationship, especially a marriage. And if now, every time she's on her phone, you're wondering who she's talking to, every time she goes out, you're wondering if she's meeting up with that dude or somebody else, there you go. Once trust is gone, relationship's over. That's what happens when trust is gone. So he says, we have had a day or two of fighting. In the end, I think I believe her. What? The messages, at least, the ones I found, were pretty much related to medical stuff. But Dr. D-Bag is single, not her doctor, and was wanting her to meet with him in person in order to explain some of the medical questions. So where was he going with that? Playing doctor? Again, she has her own doctor. Now, some people tend to if they have an emergency, say it's the weekend and they're concerned about something and their doctor's office is closed, they'll contact a doctor friend of theirs that obviously is not their doctor, but just a friend, to ask a question. But again, you do it on the phone or text or bring it up to you, not through Facebook Messenger. And let's just say, for argument's sake, that she's super naive and actually doesn't get this. And maybe he reached out to her and initiated contact. I'm giving the extreme benefit of the doubt here. This guy's obviously after her. I mean, it's not... doesn't take a genius to figure that out, and he's been divorced multiple times, as you're going to see here. But no, not cool. He says that he is twice divorced now, and is one of those guys that thinks, as a doctor, he is the be all end all as far as women go. It may all be innocent, but I don't think that married women should be having conversations with single men, let alone meeting with them. Absolutely. Unless it's work. And even then, their meeting, it's going to be in a very public place. But even then, nowadays, you got to be careful. But talking to some single dude or some other dude and hanging out with him, not cool. Maybe she was just being naive on the one hand, but on the other, why did she reach out to him? Oh, so you've seen that she's reaching out to him. And of course, there's a bit of history with my wife being flirty with him in the past. There you go. But again, the seeds of doubt have been sown. Once confronted, though, she seemed to think that the problem is an insecurity issue on my part. Oh, so it's your fault. Again, this is a typical response. The how do you not trust me? You're invading my privacy, and then now you're being insecure. You were openly flirting with all those years ago, disrespecting me in that way, and now you're having private, secret conversations on Messenger. What am I supposed to think? She says that there's nothing to these hidden messages with a single man that she has flirted with in the past, and I'm just jealous and have low self-esteem. And maybe this is gaslighting. It is. If there's nothing to it, then why hide it? And if this is going on, what else is happening that I don't know about? And of course, if I let her get away with it now, how long until it happens again? Right. How many times have you heard these stories where the guy, he suspects something's going on, he confronts her, she pulls the "you're invading my privacy" crap or "you're insecure" crap. The guy lets it slide, even though he knows something's wrong. He's not quite there yet to end things. And eventually, the BS continues, and he does find out later on down the road that she has something going on. And he's just like, why did I do that? He says, I don't think that would have affected me so much, but the pandemic-related stress and the very strong possibility of us losing our jobs soon has already had me on edge. Maybe nothing happened, at least I can't find any history, but I can't help but wonder what was going on. I am so angry that I'm shaking when I think about it even now, but with little hard evidence and that the fighting between us was getting out of control, I did tell her that this isn't a marriage-ending event, and that is why I'm letting it go. The question myself, though, is, can I let it go? No, dude. You can't. Because there's just too many red flags there. And listen to your gut. What is your gut telling you? And right there you said it. The pandemic technically is still going on. We can all debate about that. But anyhow, and he's concerned about losing his job. So he's got a lot of stress. And the last thing, you can say right here, the last thing he needs is stress about maybe splitting up or getting divorced or something like that. If you didn't have the stress of what was going on now and potentially losing your job like you mentioned, and everything was smooth financially and all that, if that was the case, would you handle this differently? You got to ask yourself that question. It says you don't have to answer, of course. Well, too late. These are all rhetorical questions, but they've been spinning around my head and need to spill out. I'm sorry to ramble and to not be expressing myself as clearly as I normally would. Thank you for letting me share and for your services in the male community. Warn the other husbands to check up on their wives, even if they don't suspect anything. Trust but verify, as they used to say. Please don't share my email, blah, blah, blah. No worries there. Now, he's going to provide an update, because this isn't over yet. He says, Dear SSM, update. To review, I've been married for over 20 years and have a teenage son. I came across your videos more or less by accident, but as my son is within the dating age, I started to listen and have been quite shocked at what I was hearing and how much things have changed. Indeed, they have changed. I listened with some smugness as someone with a traditional marriage who has lasted for 20 years and thought that I was above all of this. Yeah, I get that sometimes. Some people think I'm full of crap or I'm overreacting or something, and then it happens to them. Then, after listening to one of your stories about a man I went over that, I found myself standing next to my wife's phone on the charger and blah, blah, blah. We went through that. He says, anyway, I'll continue the story about the questionable text situation. After confronting her with the text, she said that nothing has happened. Of course, this would be the response, whether guilty or not. I explained that the texts that I saw were not in themselves necessarily bad, but that I don't know what other texts exist and what else might be happening and why is he offering to meet. He's offering to meet her because he wants to have relations with her. That's why. And she's obviously, he didn't address whether she agreed to meet up with him. And have you checked to see any deleted messages or anything? I reminded her that this was her friend's ex-husband and we had a problem in the past with her behavior around him, and how finding her texting with him behind my back does not look good, especially the part about meeting up with him. She thought about it for a moment, and I think that is finally occurring to her, and that doesn't look good, even if innocent. She claims that nothing was going on and that she wasn't going to meet with him. But again, what else would you say, whether guilty or not? I was very angry and didn't want to talk to her any further about it until I calmed down, but she kept coming to talk to me about it. She kept coming to talk to you about it because you were making her nervous. And frankly, that's a good place to be. I told her at one point to leave, but I meant my office. Leave me alone. But she interpreted it as mean leave the house. She got kind of hysterical at that point, so I clarified that I didn't think that this is necessarily a marriage-ending situation if it is innocent as she says, but that I don't want to talk about it right now. Interesting, you said she got hysterical. Translation, she thought you were kicking her out, that it was over. It is amazing how fast like that, the reaction a guy can get when he lays down the law, and she thinks that he's going to walk away, or he's kicking her to the curb and she's about to be dumped and rejected. Women cannot take rejection, and the power of a dude walking away or walking away from the relationship, it's amazing. And right here, you see it here. I tried to be civil for a few days, but distant for fear of saying something that I couldn't take back. It took a few days for me not to be angry, but then came sadness, as I didn't and still don't know what is true. I don't think that she met with him, but would she have? And why were those messages on her phone in the first place? And if it was also innocent, why was this being hidden from me? These are very important questions to ask. And your gut tells you something's wrong. You got to listen to your gut. I can tell, obviously you got a lot of pressures outside your marriage going on, like you're worried about losing your job and all this other stuff, and you have a son. And so the last thing you want to think of is like, oh God, I got to add more shit to the pile of splitting up, divorce, all that. Who's going to have my son? What's going to happen to the house, the money, this, and this. But if your gut's telling you something's up, something's up. And dude, I mean, I would love, I don't want you to go through any stress, any more stress or problems. So I would love for it to be nothing going on. But where there's smoke, there's fire. And I've done too many of these stories. So you have every right to inquire about these and think these things. I hope I'm wrong. I really do, dude. But even if I am wrong and there's nothing going on and she didn't mean it, still, there's a lot of disrespect there and you don't trust her. And without trust, there is no relationship. Come last Saturday, we had a talk. Now listen to this, guys. I asked her if she wanted to be married and told her that the door was open if she wanted to be free. Nice. But if she wanted to stay married, there could be no male friends. Acquaintances, work colleagues, yes, but no male friends. No being alone with men, no texting or emailing. I guess that in the past I was never specific about these rules, but did I really need to be? No, you didn't need to be. It was obvious. Apparently I do. She said that she wants to be married, that there was no one else, and that she deleted the contacts and messages, at least the ones I was aware of, and would follow my rules. I too wanted to stay married and to continue to be with my family, so I let it go and tried to go back to normal. Well, bro, we shall see how this goes. But notice how you started laying down the law. That's it. You're not going to be talking to anybody else. You're not going to be hanging out with anybody else. I'm the only guy. And hey, if you don't want to be married anymore, there's the door. Isn't it amazing how when him actually laying down the law, what kind of impact that has? Good for you, dude. You have every right to do that. He says, maybe if we weren't in a pandemic and fear of our jobs, I would have been less suspicious or not so quick to anger. But I really didn't need this one more thing in my life to worry about. The seeds of suspicion have been sown, though, so now I have to watch things more closely. The messages that I saw weren't so bad on one hand, but on the other hand, why were they there in the first place? Why were they hidden from me? And are there more that were deleted? How long has this been going on? These are all reasonable questions. And things usually start kind of like this. And then there's flirting, and then there's more flirting, and the next thing you know, there's pictures. You get my point. You obviously nipped this in the bud early on in terms of you found this, but if something indeed is going on, it will eventually probably pick up. And she'll just be more careful. I hope it's not. But even then, you just still don't trust her. So you're in a tough situation. My wife can be naive, though, so she may not have realized that her showing interest in Dr. D-Bag may have given him the wrong impression. Although in writing this sentence, I am already finding this difficult to believe. So am I. However, when I asked her if I should tell her friend that I found her texting with her friend's ex-husband, this seemed to worry her a bit. As if there was a sudden realization that this may not look so good to just me, and that if worried about this texting would get out to her community, it would be embarrassing. It seemed to change her defense from, I did nothing wrong, to, I'm sorry, I won't do it again. I'm just not totally buying it. I wish I could, dude. I wish I could tell you what you want to hear, but I'm just not quite buying it. I'm making myself angry again, and I'm thinking about it, so I'll leave it off here. It's good for me to write about it, though, as it forces me to clarify my thoughts. I'll be here watching and waiting. If it was an innocent thing, and she got a good scare, but otherwise, this is the end of it. If it was not so innocent, it would be a matter of time before it happens again. Correct? Well, I guess I'll never really be over. The suspicion will always be there, no matter what, and the trust has been broken. To you, my brothers, I can only tell you to check up on your wives and girlfriends no matter how long you've been together. Remember that they may control the access to sex, but we control the relationship. Good luck to you all. Okay, dude. So, in going over that, I can't tell you what to do, and you're ultimately going to do what's best for you and your family and all that, but bottom line is this: you don't trust her. And without trust, there's no relationship. And I want you to ask yourself these questions. After this, can you go back to trusting her anytime soon? Ask yourself that question. After all these years of marriage, are you truly in love with her? Does she treat you, outside this crap, with respect and with loyalty? Does she still take care of herself? Does she still want to have relations? All these things about your marriage. I would really ask yourself these questions. And if the answer is not that good to all these things, then I get you're going through some stress, other things in your life. But at that point, then, it might be time to really consider other options. And I would love to think that maybe she was just being a bonehead and didn't realize what she was doing. But I really don't believe that, because gals are much more clever, much more, you get my point, than sometimes they come off. But I don't want to see you get hurt. I don't want to see you be like one of these guys in these stories that you gave a second chance and then found out 6 months down the road, a year down the road, that she's been getting physical for all that time. I don't want to see that happen. But at the end of the day, you're going to do what's best for you, and I really want the best for you. But I think I would be very careful. I would be sleeping with one eye open. I'd be paying attention, and she knows you're watching. And the question is, how long can that go on? Do you really want to go for the remainder of your marriage, for the rest of your life, always wondering? It's not an ideal situation. So I would, at the very least, she's on probation. You pay attention. You enforce that law about, hanging out with other dudes, talking to other dudes, and go from there. And I'd give yourself 6 months. I think that's reasonable. 6 months, you're paying attention, seeing how she acts, seeing how she behaves, and really question and really ask yourself, is this someone I want to be with? Can I ever trust her again? Is this going to eat away at me? Every time I see her texting, every time I see her on the phone, every time she goes out, is this going to cause you all this anxiety? It's not worth it, man. It really isn't. And the fact that she was still talking to the dude behind the scenes, and the fact that she was flirting with the dude before, you put all these things together and it's just not too good. So give yourself 6 months. And if 6 months comes from now, it's November 18th or 17th, whatever the hell it is, and 6 months from now, see where you are and go from there. But you got to do what's best for you, bro. You got to take care of yourself. And there's so many white knight guys out there that just endure so much crap because they want to be the good man. Or they endure so much crap for the kids. And ultimately the kids see a household where mom and dad don't love each other and there's no trust and there's turmoil and fighting. And that's not very good for them. So keep watching my channel, keep working on yourself, doing what's best for yourself, and you'll figure it out one way or another. So, all right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below, let me know what you think about this, and let this guy know what you think about this. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.